Hi everyone, McBeard here, and welcome to a 3.2 patch primer where I'm going to get through all the important information you need for patch 3.2, which is hitting on August 30th, which is tomorrow, in 10 minutes. So let's go. First of all, 4 cards are getting reworked, and they have mill value for 4 days, and you can see them on the screen. Also, Arena will be starting off. Now you can choose your leader at the beginning of the deck building process, which is a massive change. I'm probably going to try it. And finally, leaders are being changed. It's a halfway step. Leader abilities are now no longer tied to the leaders. It is going to be visible in this patch, but not totally, completely unlinked leaders and abilities until the final patch. Let's talk about the gameplay changes. First of all, lots of neutral cards saw provision buffs, and a couple saw some strength buffs as well. But generally, Dandelion, Karathi, Heatwave, Sangreal, Scorch, Tristal Kinesis, and Villain Trettenmirth are all buffed in some way. Musicians of Blaviken, don't worry about this change. It's just different. Monsters has a lot more vampire archetype ability, starting off with Detlef, which is, it's a classic mistake by me. Starting off with Detlef, which now has a different ability. Now he has 3 charges on order, give an enemy unit bleeding for 3 turns, and when you expend your last charge, spawn a 2-point Ekamar on a random allied row. While the Ekamar seems underwhelming, I think that this ability is actually quite strong, and there are a number of other vampire cards and monsters that care about bleeding and that apply bleeds. Most specifically, Nekarat, Garcane, and Bruxa are all very strong bronze inclusions that are all vampires that get great value. Bruxa now thrives. Nekarat now is much more playable, has Zeal, and Garcane is a totally different card that just boosts itself whenever you're applying bleeds, and you're playing a lot more bleeds. Another landmark change, Keltalis with a 9 strength body now and a higher provision cost, but I see this card probably seeing play because 9 strength is no joke. Skellige saw a lot of changes when it comes to Resurrection and some of the Bronze Core and some of the healing and damaging units. S ability on order is now play a Skellige unit from your graveyard, which is any Skellige unit at all, obviously increasing his viability and, according to Jason Slama, may be entering the meta. We see Ancrate Armorsmith and the Twisark Bearmaster become 4 provision point support bronzes. The Beastmaster, Bearmaster, Beast in the Graveyard archetype has been changed. Now the support card is Corrupted Flamenca that on deploy can boost itself by 1 for each beast in your graveyard. This is supported further by a Gremist rework, which now allows you to purify multiple units, removing doomed status from multiple beasts or contracts or poison or bleeding or whatever you need. Gremist is just an actually, a card with actual utility now. And in general, alchemy has been buffed in Skellige. More cards care about alchemy. Specifically, Gremist has a more relevant alchemy trigger, plus Restoration, Sigdrifa's Right, and Freya's Blessing are all alchemy cards. So these are all cards that care. Now, Ermion can tutor these cards, and that matters. These are all pretty good. Specifically, Restore. Restore is a different card now. Now it heals an allied unit and boosts it by the amount it was healed. Joanna style. Berserk has been changed to as well. Whenever a unit hits its Berserk value depicted on the tooltip, now it triggers its effect. Most specifically, this applies to Sigvald because his Berserk trigger, his threshold is no longer half of his health, but just needing to take 1 damage. Same with the Drummond Queensguard, which essentially has the same ability of having an order when damaged to spawn a base copy, but now this order is tied to Berserk 3. But why would we care about the Drummond Queensguard or even the Drummond Shield Maiden? Because Saris Ancrate has had a massive rework. Saris Ancrate is now a 10 provision point 4 strength unit with on deploy melee. Summoned a Shield Maiden, and on range summon a Queensguard from the deck. So it thins and it applies it to the board, plus you can start playing with it immediately if you're Svalblad or if you have something that can start damaging it. Skellige is also getting a reworked Hemdall, which seems like a very powerful card, kind of like a reverse Great Oak, but also seems a little scary with Est's new Resurrection ability. New support units to self-wounding in the Svalblad Cultist, now acting like the old Wild Boar of the Sea, as well as other cards like the Uncrate Armorsmith, which cares about damaged units, and the Twisark Veteran, which now has a Berserk, another really cool Berserk. When it Berserks to 2, it heals itself. So it starts at 8, damages itself by 3, gets to 2, goes back up to 8. Lots of really cool options here with stuff that damages. Expect to see a lot of cool new Berserk and self-wounding stuff happening with Skellige, and maybe some alchemy cards seeing more play now that you have a viable tutor in the faction. Northern Realms they were the king of the last patch. Full Test, very, very strong. Full Test gets an immediate nerf. Now he only boosts units by 1 with the same ability and provisions. I think it's a fine nerf. I think the buff as well was probably over the top in the first place. Calantha gets nerfed. Bloody Baron gets nerfed from 7 to 6. Kira gets nerfed from 7 to 5. Pretty much all of these nerfs are value nerfs. Full Test generally will just be operating at a slightly lower value. Full Test is probably still tier 1, maybe tier 1.5. I just don't think it's bad enough to go to tier 2. Drog now only transforms the humans on his row to Revenants without changing their power, which means that row restriction ultimately restricts the ability of Drog, and row effects like Lacerate become more attractive if Drog is in the meta. Don't think you need to include Drog in your Northern Realms decks to be good. So Northern Realms just straight up nerfed, but still seems fine playable. As the Northern Realms ambassador, my heart still bleeds blue, but it's not bleeding because I'm so wounded. Scoia'tael, finally, Dana Meep gets a provision increase, and Francesca as well. We see a few changes to Call of the Forest. Well, Call of the Forest is a fantastic change, arguably an auto-include card. Now, plays a Scoia'tael unit from your deck and boost it by 2. It's a 10 provision point card now, but arguably one of the best tutors in the game. Because it's a tutor that doesn't have a body, but actually adds that boost to the card. Pretty good for Scoia'tael. Francesca only plays Scoia'tael specials. Same with Northern Realms. Full test only boosts Northern Realms cards. Est only affects Skellige cards. Pretty much overarching philosophy, I think, for a lot of the changes. But we see a lot more Dwarven stuff happening. Mercenaries are nerfed. The Marauders are now a 4-strength support card. And cards that care about Elves get an overall boost because you have a lot more Elven spam cards. Half-Elf Hunter is now playing 2 units on the board that are both elves, and has the Harmony tag. And Waylay is also a ability that creates an Elven Deadeye while also removing with a 3-ping. So I think that there's going to be ultimately a lot of really cool Elven synergy you can do. Harmony is overall boosted. Dana herself is boosted in general as well. And I think that this is a lot more cool cards. Panther is a new card as well. That's just, much easier to include for that Harmony tag. Going into Nilfgaard, Anna has been buffed. Yennefer's Invocation is an incredibly cool card now. Now it takes a unit off the board and puts it on top of your deck, the Nilfgaard player, which is really good for Assimilate and really good for just straight up unconditional removal, including artifacts, which means that a turn 1 summoning circle is now my summoning circle. You don't lose tempo because your opponent didn't play any tempo either. Very, very cool card. Probably sees play. Stefan Skellen no longer has the turn restriction, can play it on any time in the row. Sarret, along with Donar and Hindar, takes the nerf to 5-point pings. Fire Scorpion ultimate nerf to the Portal strat. Now it's easier to take these Fire Scorpions off the board. Easier to steal them too, with stuff like Swears. Easier to kill them with stuff like Giant Totem. Finally, Syndicate. Massive nerfs to the faction here. Pretty much no buffs at all. They got a new card in Walter Veritas, a 9 provision point 4-strength unit that spawns he creates and plays a Bronze Syndicate faction card. It's right there. I don't know why I was trying to cite it from memory. So it's a new card that may see play. It's just an interesting new card that doesn't really add to anything, but at least it allows you to have more bonded effects in a faction that has 2 bonded cards. Bounty can only exist on 1 unit at a time. Massive, massive change to strategy involving the Syndicate. Cleaver can play any Syndicate card, but gains 2 coins if it's less than 10 provisions. Dijkstra no longer gains charges when he plays crimes, only gains coins, as well as a number of buffs to crimes and a number of buffs to the strength level to Syndicate cards. And finally, a cooldown nerf to Igor the Hook, much asked. Lots of quality of life improvements. Things are going to feel smoother. Fee is going to feel smoother as well because you're not going to have to re-click the Fee. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of gameplay improvements that are just going to feel tighter and tighter with each patch. That's why these patches are always good. Long-standing issues are addressed. Archetypes open up. Things get better, and not a lot gets worse. That's what I have for this Challenger tournament-ready patch. I'm very excited, my friends. If you like the primer, show me, tell me. This is YouTube. Lots of ways to do that. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.